A tale of secrets, betrayal, and an unexpected crash that changes everything. Imagine this, a grand wedding filled with joy and celebration. But amidst the beauty, an intruder arrives. Not just any guest, but one who brings with them a mystery that could unravel the lives of everyone involved. This isn't just about a wedding. It's about the hidden truths, the lies we've buried deep. Buckle up, because this journey will take you through heartbreak, surprises. Let the story begin.
It was supposed to be just another wedding, a glamorous celebration on Victoria Island, Lagos, where the scent of roses hung in the air and champagne flowed like a river. But Temilade wasn't there to toast the happy couple. She wasn't invited, and yet she belonged there more than anyone else. With eyes full of mischief and a calm confidence in her step, she moved through the crowd like a shadow in silk. The lights sparkled, laughter echoed, but her gaze was locked on one man, the groom, Akande. He noticed her instantly, an elegant stranger in a simple dress that didn't scream for attention but whispered secrets. They met by the table, hands brushing ever so slightly, their smiles laced with curiosity. In that moment, time seemed to slow. There was chemistry, real, unfiltered, and unsettling. Aderonke, the bride, wasn't blind to the shift. She approached, arms crossed, suspicion gleaming in her eyes. Temilade met her glare with a soft smile, masking the rising nerves inside. Akande stood between them, conflicted, unsure which truth to hold on to. Later, in the quiet of her apartment, Temilade stared out the window, the city lights reflecting the chaos in her heart. Her phone buzzed, a message from Akande, unexpected, unsettling. They met again, this time on a rooftop, with the skyline casting long shadows over their silhouettes. Words were few, but glances said everything. He spoke of trouble with Aderonke, of a love that had long lost its spark. And Temilade, she listened, torn between empathy and guilt. They sat close, in a softly lit room where Akande laid bare his heart. His words hung in the air, raw, painful, real. Temilade's shock was evident, but beneath it, a quiet relief. She wasn't imagining it. Something had always been broken. Still, she hesitated. On a crowded street, she turned away from him, heart waging war against logic. Akande called out, but her steps didn't slow. Some decisions are best made in silence. At another wedding, ironic perhaps, they met again. In a garden blooming with flowers, they laughed like old friends. But the pull was stronger than before. It was dangerous, magnetic, undeniable. Aderonke found Temilade at a cafe, her cold stare slicing through the warmth of the room. There were no raised voices, just pointed words, a threat hidden behind poise. Temilade didn't flinch, but the tremble was in her breath. Akande's voice, tight with frustration, filled Temilade's ears. She stood alone, the room still, except for the storm raging in her chest. And when they met again, this time in a park, he pleaded. But Temilade had already made her choice. That quiet moment where Akande, eyes filled with resolve, told her he had broken things off. The air shifted. Relief, guilt, confusion. It was all there, tangled like roots beneath the surface. Temilade wandered the beach at sunset, letting the waves whisper to her soul. Meanwhile, Aderonke's fury exploded behind closed doors, hurling framed memories to the floor. The betrayal cut deep. But Temilade, she chose healing. Morning light streamed through her apartment as she wrote in her journal, reclaiming her story one page at a time. Akande wasn't spared. Cameras flashed, headlines screamed. The scandal was out. He tried to shield his face, but the truth offered no shelter. Nights grew quiet. Temilade lay in the dark, her eyes searching the ceiling for answers. Until one day, at a park bench, they met again. Akande on one end, Temilade on the other. Silence sat with them. So much said. And still not enough. Then Adoronki showed up, at Temilade's door. No threats, no shouting, just two women standing face to face, with years of emotion compressed into one look. It was war without weapons, pain wrapped in silence. Akande remembered his arguments with Adoronki, the broken pieces hidden behind glossy photos. And as gossip brewed, Temilade sought comfort in friendship, finding laughter and tears on the floor of her tiny living room, wine in hand. Akande turned to his mentor, desperate for wisdom. Temilade too needed perspective. At a cafe, her friend whispered rumors that made her eyebrows rise. Every corner of their world held secrets. Social media only added fuel. Screens flashed with headlines, timelines bursting with speculation. Temilade stared at her phone, emotions swirling like a storm. She stood at a crossroads, literally, on a bustling Lagos street. Which path would she choose? Akande faced the cameras, giving a public statement, calm, composed. But inside, he wrestled demons no one could see. Temilade stepped into the light. A photo shoot, bold fashion, her brand reborn. She was no longer just the crasher. She was a woman reclaiming power. Even Adoronki felt the shift. In a peaceful garden, the two women sat, speaking honestly. Grace, closure, a rare kind of peace. Akande drove through the city one night, lost in thought, while Temilade crafted a vision board, plans, dreams, hope. She was moving forward. She entered a boardroom next, head held high, her voice strong, her pitch bold. She was building a legacy. At an art gallery, Akande found her again. Their words soft, the warmth between them undeniable, but as always, backlash. Online hate surged once more. Temilade found comfort in her mother's arms, in words wrapped with wisdom and care. One night, in a penthouse, she stood inches from Akande, eyes locked, breath held, desire, fear, temptation. But clarity shattered when she saw him in the wrong place, at the wrong time. Misunderstanding, pain. Distance returned. Temilade escaped to a retreat, seeking healing in solitude. Akande stayed back, discovering a letter, a family secret buried long ago. It changed everything. Back in the city, Temilade entered a quiet church. She met someone from her past, forgiveness flowing like a balm. Then her comeback, a stage, a crowd of women. Her voice strong, her message clear. She had survived and she would thrive. But new eyes watched her, a rival in the making. Akande, meanwhile, stared from his window, choices pressing down like weights on his shoulders. And when Temilade received a business offer, her world tilted once more. Their next meeting was in the rain. Emotions collided, voices rose, hearts broke all over again. But healing had begun. Temilade volunteered, finding peace in laughter and service. She was whole again. Then, on a rooftop lit by candles, Akande appeared. He confessed, raw and true. She listened, tears glistening in her eyes. They walked the beach together, hand in hand, laughter echoing in the waves. This time, there was no hiding. She was no longer the outsider. At a wedding reception, this time as a guest, Temilade entered with poise, her gown shimmering under the lights. All eyes turned. But this time it wasn't scandal, it was admiration. She revisited the old hall, the place where it all began. Empty now, yet full of memories. And on a balcony at sunrise, she wrote in her journal one last time. Not as the wedding crasher, but as the woman who lived, loved, and chose herself.